Alright guys, Papa Pepper back once again at the Abundant Harvest Homestead. We've got a couple pretty good videos in the works. I hope they're pretty good videos anyway. But ones where I got to spend a lot of time editing. And at the moment I am not going to be able to devote the amount of time I need to do the footage or the video justice. So I wanted just to record this shorter one here and share something I think is very worthwhile, but also just kind of put it out there to keep those who kind of notice, oh, you haven't posted in a couple days, you know, you haven't shared a video in a couple days, what's going on? Because I know people can get concerned too. Representing the Bobblehead Homestead today, so we're going to give a brief weather report. Right now it's overcast, it's drizzly, and it's 54 here in the Ozarks, and a slight chance of apocalypse, but we're trying to you know, make it through as best we can. So as I look directly over the camera, about 50-60 feet, I see Red Pepper, and she's got one of her sheep, and she's milking it right now. And we've been using sheep milk a number of ways right now. And then the other night, we just had carp loaf. And you guys may be familiar with the fish carp, and you may be familiar with like a fish loaf, like kind of like meatloaf, but with fish, like salmon loaf or something like that. But the thing is in our own personal life here, we don't really know anyone milking sheep. We don't really know anyone making carp loaf. And that's kind of the gist of this video, and I'll explain it a little bit deeper in a minute, but pretty much feel free to experiment. Live your own life. Do things that make sense to you. And kind of streamline your existence or form your existence around your own goals, your own lifestyle, and the things that you actually find that you and your family need, as opposed to just going with the flow or copying things you see all the time. You've probably heard me talk periodically about just not Googling everything right away. If you have a job that you need to get done, have a thought about it first. We were recently talking about how a lot of what some people are doing is kind of heading back to the olden days. You know, heading back to the days when people were more self-sufficient, they were less dependent. We've had a number of people over the past years look at us and be like, wow, you guys are like heading backwards. You know, you're heading backwards. Why would you have to raise chickens when you can just go to the store? It's so easy to pick up eggs. Well, as we recently saw with, you know, toilet paper, it's not always easy just to run to the store. That system can break down very easily, and all of a sudden whatever you did want can be non-existent. So I think that kind of shaping your life in a way that makes sense to you and that sets you up for success even in the midst of terrible things that could happen is just wise. So you know that we're trying to take care of more of our own needs. We're not 100% self-sufficient, nor I think will we ever be unless necessity kind of demands it. If things get really terrible, well then we won't have an option, right? But we'll still, you know, we'll probably still barter and trade and interact with others, and you know, then not be 100% self-sufficient. That's not the goal, but being more self-sufficient just should be able to help prevent us from having a terrible slow death or something, which is unnecessary if it's avoidable. You know, if something's avoidable, why put yourself through it if it's only going to have really negative effects? So as we begin to do things, you know, last year I picked up bow fishing for the first time. I thought, hey, look, here's a bunch of carp by day and suckers by night, and I can go shoot these things, and they're giant fish. They got fins and scales, and people use them for food. A lot of people don't, but you can. Since I can shoot a carp, which is like the equivalent of probably 20 to 30, you know, bluegills with one shot with the bow, and since, you know, it provides a ton of meat, if we can find a way to use it, I think we should. So we began using it a number of ways, and then this year we started canning it. We've got a kind of catch, clean, and can video coming up about carp. And then, I think 2 nights ago, or was it last night? No, it wasn't last night. It must have been 2 nights ago. I actually made a carp loaf. I don't personally know anyone canning carp, although as I ask around, you run into people, oh yeah, we've done that before, my grandma used to do that, or things like that. But it was just an idea we had. Hey, we can do it, and maybe it'll help with the bones in there, and I won't have to spend the time deboning it. It absolutely did. It was wonderful. The crunchy little bones in canned salmon are one of the things I like that makes it special. Now we've got that with carp. So we did that. We canned them up, and then I made a carp loaf, and when I opened the can, a canned carp, it smelled like tuna, and it tasted like salmon. So in a situation with that carp, you know, we took something a lot of people consider to be a trash fish, that we consider to be a resource. We decided, you know what, let's can it up and let's try it. And I canned it up, made that fish loaf, that carp loaf 2 nights ago, and it was absolutely amazing. I can't wait to share that video with you guys. It was so delicious, it was so good, and the whole family just kind of sits back and goes, wow, that's amazing. It gets to the point my wife goes, you really need to head down to the lake and get some more fish. We need to invest, you know, every spring when they're spawning in putting up like, you know, a year's supply or more, because this is amazing stuff. A lot of people would just fall over dead pretty much if their wife said, you know what, you should go down to the lake fishing. But that's where she's at, because we did something. We weren't trying to emulate anybody. We weren't trying to, you know, go with the flow or whatever. It's just, hey, what is available to us? What can we use that makes the most sense, and what can we kind of set ourselves up for success with? We took a risk. We absolutely did. When I opened that first can of carp, I had no idea what it was going to taste with. There's a lot of stigma that comes along with carp sometimes. Took a whiff, it smelled like tuna. I saw some bones sticking out of a piece of meat because they got some lines of bones in them, and I thought, hey, if we can can it and they'll wind up like, you know, salmon bones, this will be even better than having to debone them. Touched it and it all crumbled. Grabbed a bite and I'm like, it tastes like salmon. It smells like tuna, it tastes like salmon. And it's from right here a couple miles away. Made that loaf, blew the family away, and now, you know, it's not that hard to go to the store and pick up a can of tuna or a can of salmon. It's not incredibly expensive, but it could be in a couple months. You know, we could see hyperinflation, we could see food prices go up, we could see the value of the dollar drop, we could see a lot of things. We don't live in a stagnant stasis world. Things change. Yeah, we don't live in a static world. You know, things change. And the carp spawning at the lake, though, every year, it's going to take a lot more to change that than it's going to take to disrupt, you know, the food system here. So that was really cool. It was something that we received a blessing because we stepped out of the norm and just experimented, just lived our own life, did our own thing. And I would recommend it to people. If you hear about it, think it's a good idea, want to check out yourself, I would highly recommend it to people. I plan on making carp loaves for people and being like, look, I saved some for my workmate because he thinks similarly to me. I told him I got, you know, 3 bow fishing bows right now. If you want to go down there and shoot some, here, try some, see what you think, and if this makes sense to you. If it doesn't, do something else. But if it does, I'll go with you. I can help you. You know, we can do these things, and let's set things up for our own success, for ourselves and our family as the earthly providers for them. And then as I see the second sheep on the thing here, we're getting about a half gallon of sheep milk a day, guys. I have never milked a sheep. Never thought about having sheep for milk. But my children, they like their ewes. They had to wean the babies. You may hear behind me the little lambs. They did this the other year where they began milking sheep. They're like, Dad, can we milk them? I said, well, sure, give it a try. And they even made some sheep butter the other day. But I want you to think about that. Some places in the world it's very common to have sheep milk. Cow milk is not as common. Some places, you know, goat milk is very common and cow milk isn't. So the second that everyone only really picks up cow milk, that anything else seems interesting, seems weird. Oh, goat milk? Ugh. Almond milk? How'd you milk your almonds? Okay, I threw that in there for a joke. But, you know, sheep milk is even one step further away because a lot of people are familiar with cow milk. They are familiar with goat milk, and then sheep milk's like another step. But we're like, you know what? We can. People do. The children want to. They want to. So they give it a try. And all of a sudden, next thing you know, we're getting, you know, a half gallon of milk a day from our own sheep. Now, sheep are one of those things that are lawnmowers here. There's a lot of liquid in a lot of lawnmowers I would not want to drink. I don't want to drink no gas and oil. But our lawnmowers, we can drink what they give us back. And again, not trying to follow in anyone's footsteps, just trying to live wise, and as life comes up, you know, the children said, Dad, can we do this? I said, you know what? I think you can. And so they did. And now we've received a blessing just by being creative, living our own life, kind of taking down some of those barriers. There's plenty of things in the world that you're going to have hesitations about that you think maybe you shouldn't do, and you're going to be right. But there's a whole bunch of things which are outside the realm of morality, which are outside the realm of loving God and loving your neighbors. There's things that are outside that realm that a lot of us have the freedom to do, but a lot of us don't take advantage of that freedom. A lot of us don't act on that freedom to the point that we can receive a blessing from doing some of these things. So personally, I'm very excited. Personally, I don't mind seeing sheep milk and carp loaf on the menu here at our house. And I offer that up as encouragement. You know, there may be things that you have in your area that you're not taking advantage of. You may be thinking a little bit differently about just the frailty of the current consumer system and your role in it, and you may be looking to be more self-sufficient. You may be looking around. I mean, we eat a lot of greenbrier, a lot, sawbriar, and a lot of people don't. But it's growing everywhere around here, so we've you know, put it in our diet, and we've taken advantage of it. It was something that we had a great opportunity for some really healthy food that grows locally like crazy. And because we had that information, because we took that risk, because we stepped out of the norm and gave it a try, we absolutely love it now. And yet a lot of people would be like, oh, what are you eating that for? And in some ways I like to comment back in things that provide thought, like, well, it tastes a lot better than starvation. Oh, well, there's plenty of things to eat right now. Sure, sure. But when there's not, and this is still going to be here. This is still going to be here. And that's kind of part of it. Get familiar with it ahead of time, and even if it's only a hobby, if it needs to take over in your life to be a lifestyle rather than a hobby, at least you'll have the knowledge from that hobby to apply to your life. I just think there's wisdom in all this, and I think that a lot of people are waking up to the point where they're potentially seeing how foolish or dangerous or how unwise it may be to be completely dependent upon others for every aspect of your life, even when it's just as simple as having food and water. Because food and water is kind of simple and it's kind of necessary, but the second that you give that completely over to somebody else, it becomes very easy to perish. So I offer that up for some food for thought. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully we're going to do one on carp loaf. We're going to do one on, I'll do a carp clean and catch, clean, and can with the carp first. And then I'll do just a full carp loaf video at some point too. I'll do a full sheep milk video and stuff like that. But I just wanted to throw something out that was more of just a vlog quickly. Keep you guys thinking. Keep you guys updated on us. And then, yeah. Give me a little less time in the editing room. I'll see you guys next time. Be blessed. Papa out.